Welcome, Scorpio, to your Chiron into Taurus 50-year return, 3-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. On June the 19th through to September the 18th, Chiron moves into the practical earthy Taurus for an initial 13-week visit. The last time Chiron started this journey was in 1977, and the last time it was in Taurus, 1984. So it's a really big deal. We can talk about Chiron in Taurus from an overall viewpoint, but what about from a Scorpio one? On the screen is the event chart of the exact moment that Chiron arrives. I'm going to unpack that for you, Scorpio, and by the end of the video, you'll have a clearer picture of what's upcoming in terms of your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also tap or click the bell notification symbol. So in mythology, Chiron was a life coach in a modern context, but training the gods in combat, but understanding nature and healing through herbs, but also the sky through astrology. Once that wound was obtained, which never healed in the foot, in astrology it's said by some that we can never overcome that wound. And Chiron, wherever it is in our natal charts, depending on the house as well as sign, and you may not have it in Taurus natally, can give us a lot of insights into where your superpower will glow, where you can support and help and encourage people and be that life coach, but not necessarily get much back. And that is the lesson of Chiron. So for me, when we get to that point of accepting that we don't necessarily get something back for what we give, its power over us actually diminishes. But some people do think that Chiron has an impact in a physical context too. So Chiron in Taurus, Taurus is a fixed sign, likes stability, and it has an appreciation of value, self-worth, and money. And also things like natural approaches. However, for you, Chiron moves into the seventh house, and that's all about relationships. It can be about setting our boundaries, but it can also be where we need to be competitive. And over the last 2 years, Uranus, the planet of freedom and independence, has been moving through this area and may have created quite a lot of uncertainty or change around your relationship. If that has caused some pain and upset, this initial 3 months, but full time from April next year, the 14th, will give you the chance to work on this. But that's where the event chart for this initial 3 months is very encouraging for you personally. Why? Well, Mars, your traditional ruler, is in residence in Taurus. So that's giving you a bit more thrust and also assertion about your boundaries. So if someone has been disappointing you, I think more recently, you've been able to really set that boundary in a firmer way. So that's really good. But Mars also forges a very dynamic link to Jupiter and Mercury, and they're in a conjunction in the freedom loving part of your chart. So it could be that if you haven't been enjoying a relationship, Chiron moving into this area, but Mars is linked to Jupiter, very much about freedom, growth, knowledge, and faith in Cancer, but can be about fortune, and Mercury in the sign of Cancer, feeling our communication. But again, the ninth house, it could give you the opportunity to push away from something that's not working for you. But also in the friendliest, most social part of your chart, the moon links back to Chiron in a pretty well perfect trine, one of astrology's most enabling influences. If you do find yourself over these next 13 weeks talking about past relationships, how they impacted on you, or perhaps even how worthy you might be of meeting someone, or Are you about to notice more keenly that you do talk yourself down, or you don't feel that your prospects are great? Because if that thinking is going on, Chiron can help you to push back, but you have to embrace its energy. But the link to the moon is key because the moon in Virgo can be very good at making sure our immediate home environment is neat, tidy, and organized, but it's the 11th house of friendships. And I think maybe someone you're close to could give you some very astute pointers of what they think about your situation, which can be very encouraging to you. Now, of course, it's equally possible that through your life experience, often rich because you have the unique ability to get beneath the surface of things and understand what people are really meaning, if not saying. Maybe you are going to be very supportive to someone over this next 3 months too. Challenges? Well, Uranus, the planet of freedom, is in a square with the moon. So that does point towards perhaps if you are wanting to break free, and I must stress, not necessarily a romantic relationship. So if there's a relationship that's not working for you, there's lots here that gives you the support to make a move, to break out. But also Venus, the planet of relating, which also rules the sign of Taurus, is in a very dominant part of your chart, suggesting that your ability to cultivate and connect to people is really heightened at this time. Venus forges a delicious link to Neptune. It's in opposition with your modern ruler, but forges a very vibrant link to Uranus. So, how I would say this could work out, as far as your business situation is concerned, if you are applying for jobs, having interviews, doing presentations, particularly with this dynamic duo, fantastic for business. Venus here suggests your people skills will be important, but Mars and Chiron are asking you, particularly Chiron, to visualize your worth because that can attract to you what you truly deserve. So that's very, very important. Now, as far as your financial situation is concerned, you do have the Sun along with Uranus in the sector to do with long-term finances. But what I really like is Venus is linked to Uranus. So if you do show some daring do, or you've got an original plan, your way of coming across very authentically, Venus to Uranus, could bring in a sudden financial opportunity in a way which can absolutely delight. I'm going to summarize those four areas: energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Scorpio. But just to say, you can download a free factoid on Chiron, tells you all about the mythology, uh, what Chiron is like in each of the 12 zodiac signs, but also in each house. Please see that below to download that free. I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports. If you followed me for a while, for many years, it's been buy two, get 30% off. Now it's get three, buy one. Why? I feel that people are really experiencing the increase in cost. I'm trying to help. What you pay for is your life roadmap, which helps us to understand the patterns that play out in our lives, get a more intimate understanding of those. Free your 12-month transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis, which can really help us to look at astrology, life, and ourselves in a very different but profound way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your June moon magic video, which looks at June from a purely lunar perspective on the screen, your overall general June forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope, find your device each morning for your early days celestial pit stop, please see below. And so to summarize those areas, as far as energy is concerned, Saturn and Neptune do continue in the physical part of your chart, the sixth house. And there may be times over the next 2 years with Saturn there that you do feel that you're having to pace yourself. But it can also push you to be more disciplined about using the energy you have got. But you know, with Mars, the planet of action, In a combative part of your chart, if you did want to do something over these next 3 months that was more competitive, a one-to-one sport like badminton or squash or tennis, that would be a great way to improve your physical vitality and stamina. As far as your professional situation is concerned, charm will get you everywhere, with Venus right at the top of your chart, but in that brilliant link to Uranus. But Uranus itself squares off with the moon. So it's possible that um, when it comes to pitching for particular jobs, what I would say is that there may be some dislocation that could come up in terms of where you have to go. So it may involve some travel, perhaps even further afield, or it may be to do with teaching and training, but you can definitely, with this chart, make significant progress. When it comes to your relationship situation, well, that's really under the astral spotlight with Chiron and Mars in that seventh house. But you also have the North Node in the fifth. And Chiron does forge an excellent link with the North Node and the South. So I feel that there could be a fated connection that does emerge for you. But with the moon linking back to Chiron, you do need to get out and interact as much as possible if you're single. But what Mars does is gives you more confidence, and that link to Jupiter and Mercury, perhaps even somewhat of a dash. So if you do join in with new interest groups, get out into the great outdoors, do more active things. All of these things can see you building up new alliances. If you're in a relationship which does feel controlling, not very happy, you're not enjoying it, I feel there is a real potential here for you to want to start to understand more about what your minimum requirements will be. Of course, it depends on how challenging it is. With Venus in an opposition with Pluto, some power dynamics are possible, but also a dazzling attraction. It just depends on your unique situation. However, I feel that if you're really not feeling that a tie will be for the long term, Uranus is in the eighth house of commitment square to the moon, which is very much to do with your home. If you live together, that could be quite provocative in perhaps tempting you to move away from something that's not working. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Scorpio. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best for this initial Chiron 3 month pass, and look forward to seeing you again soon.